Supervisor Vernon, can we have a roll call, please?
Roll call in attendance tonight are Supervisors Resnick, Ross, Beaufort, myself, Stephanie Verna. Absent is Scott Madsen.
Comments from the public?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. Comments of the supervisors? Mr. Beaufort?
Nothing at this time.
Mrs. Vernon?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Resnick?
Nothing at this time.
And nothing at this time for me. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 11th, 2025?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Mr. Strelick, correspondence.
Yeah, a number of items. Received notification that from Campbell Oil and Gas that they're re-permitting a natural gas well in Derry. Nothing we can do about it because it's not in our township. Nothing Derry can do about it because they don't have zoning. Received notification from PennDOT they're going to be doing traffic counts on local roadways. So if you see those black strips show up on some back roads, that's a PennDOT thing or gathering information. On the list are 3 roads we'll be doing work on next year. I reached out to the PennDOT contact. They said that's not an issue because it's just there for a couple of days. So it should be gone by the time we tar and chip. If not, we'll remove it for them. And then one item that just showed up today, so it's not on the agenda. Received notification from PennDOT that we got our liquid fuels money. So good news because it's $3,000 more than we budgeted, which isn't a lot, but better than less. And also confirmation that I filled out all the reports correctly, otherwise it made us wait till July. So good news on that. Unless there's any question, manager's report. So at the next meeting, I'll probably have before the board requesting approval to purchase a 5-ton F550. I was hoping to do that for this meeting, but the final quote came in yesterday, and we just talked about the numbers this morning. So I'll have that for the board next meeting. As a reminder, we budgeted $120,000 for that, and it's going to come in just a hair under budget, probably, unless something changes in the next 2 weeks. Good news and bad news we received yesterday. Multimodal grant for the Cary School pedestrian bridge was awarded, which is awesome, $587,000, which is fantastic. We're one of only 2 municipalities in the county to get an award. Unfortunately, the project budget is $1.2 million, so there's quite a bit of gap we're going to have to figure out to cover. This just happened yesterday, so I don't have any recommendations or anything, but I'll certainly be reaching out to the borough and the school district. Oh, reached out already and let them know, but we're reaching out again and see if we can't go together. Because if we do go out for additional funding, I don't want it to just be us and me. It should be all 3 of us.
Correct.
And just a note for the agenda tonight, no engineer's report tonight. Ben had a conflict, which I am totally fine with because he'll be more used to us at the next meeting, so we can make a seal coating bid. So we replaced him with Griff tonight. He's later on the agenda. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mike. Solicitor's report.
I've been working on some code issues with Mr. Kraus. We have the, I'm probably stealing some of your thunder, but the Montague/Whitmont property, that has gotten filed. They have a deadline of Monday to comply. And if they don't, then we'll proceed with the court hearing.
And what property was that? Where's that located?
That is 576 Old Lincoln Highway. It's that place that's melting into the ground.
Purchased at a tax sale. I think it's a derelict structure.
I recall, just a little help. We'll have the reference.
And then the Beard property, which is on Cherokee Lane near the ice pond. I've given them notice under the rules we can do so that we will be on their property to inspect the condition of things. We had to wait for some of the snow to melt, and they have an objection period when they can object to that inspection. But I don't think that should be a problem, and some of the neighbors have agreed to help us out and are putting together photos and different things that they can see. The last thing, it's later in the agenda. I don't know if you want to talk about it now. Bethlehem Homeless File / Concordia at Bethlehem, which is the new name. It's the same entity. They have filed a tax assessment a tax exemption appeal for the quote-unquote cottages, which are independent living facilities there. There are 22 separate ones. It amounts to about $4,600 a year in property taxes to the township. They have filed for an exemption of all the taxes. I could get into the theory on that, but they lost at the tax assessment appeal board. At that level, the county said no. That board said no, we're going to keep it taxable. So they have filed an appeal, and the theory is that those parcels are used along with the skilled nursing and personal care portions of the operation, which are already tax exempt. That the independent living portions are just as necessary to the furtherance of the whole charitable mission of the organization. It's a nonprofit. So they have to meet constitutional tests, statutory tests to show that they are quote unquote purely public charity, and they have to show that the operations, the use of those 22 parcels or residents who are part of the community there, that it furthers the interests of the whole community. Of course, the school district has a bigger, much more skin in the game. They're somewhere $30,000 a year, something like that. And this is part of a larger, and we can go into executive session at some point later if you'd like, and we can get into the details. But Concordia has come in and purchased several different communities, senior living communities in the county, including the one that was known as Weatherwood over off of Mount Pleasant Road in Hempfield Township. That was a UPMC facility. They are trying for exemption at that facility also. But anyway, the way the process works, now that there's an appeal, and the school district solicitor called me about this to kind of talk it through. We would I would enter my appearance on behalf of the township, and then an order gets kicked out within 45 days. That sets a status conference with the court, with Judge Marcelli, and setting forth a schedule. So we basically be riding the coattails of the town, of the school district, I believe, in opposing the exemption, and it's their burden to show that these 22 cottages should be tax exempt.
I'm sorry, Dan, just to clarify, what was the county's position on this?
I haven't talked to anyone yet, but I'm sure they'll oppose it. Yeah, their taxation's they're between us and the township. Between the school district. And this all came about in 2007. There was a PA Supreme Court case that said independent living facilities can be tax exempt, just like personal care and skilled nursing, as long as certain factors are shown.
I always understood if they make, a nonprofit makes money or profit off of a property, it has to be taxed.
Well, that's part of the analysis. There have been some cases where portions of a property, say a nonprofit has a museum, and then they have a gift shop. Well, they'll section off the gift shop and say that part of the property where you're making money should not be tax exempt. The one that I've had sometimes is a church buys a house next to it, tears it down, puts a parking lot, and now we have to go apply for exemption. And we've gotten it in the past, but usually it's not much money as a state. But we will say that and there's case law that says a parking lot is necessary for the use of the church and its charitable mission. Nonprofit corporations are not automatically exempt in property taxes. That's sort of a misnomer. Some people have that idea, like, oh, it's nonprofit, of course they don't pay taxes. Anyway, I think with Concordia coming in, bigger operation, they looked at things and said, hey, why are, or it's worth a shot trying to get these cottages exempt.
Do we have to vote on that tonight?
I'd like to, and I'd like to enter my appearance tomorrow. There's 22 separate cases. It won't be a ton of work, at least in the beginning. Here's the other thing. It may end up being, as some of these end up, as a pilot agreement, a payment in lieu of taxes agreement that is entered into between the property owner and the taxing bodies. And I think sometimes municipal entities fare better in those because the argument is, well, hey, you're still getting municipal services from us. You're getting police protection. You're getting, I think Michael, you said one of the roads up there gets plowed or something. So sometimes the owner will, they want a little bit of a break, but not a big break from us. Again, the school district's the primary target, I think, to try to get relief from that $30,000 plus a year that they are paying as opposed to the $4,600 they're paying us.
So the motion you're looking for
is to, how about to participate in the appeal of Concordia Bethlehem to the 22 cottage parcels.
Can I get a motion on
I'll make that motion.
So John made the motion, Dan second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead, Dan.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, and I think I beat that to death, so be off the agenda for the
Your motion, or you want Dan to repeat it? Motion to participate in the appeal.
of Concordia Bethlehem seeking tax exemption for their independent living cottage properties.
And did you get the motion and second too, Deborah?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Ligonier Township Municipal Authority report. We've got Griff with us tonight.
Okay. So Friday night, supervisors, I got a couple text messages, and I've been getting beat up over the weekend about the authorities for sale again. So we're going to go through this super quick. We're going to get this out. John, you got reappointed to our board. You as a supervisor, you going to sell us?
No way.
Dan Resnick?
Absolutely not.
Ms. Ferna? Eric? Okay. Now, with that being said, there's been some political smear against the old supervisor / manager. Well, yes, he did want to sell the authority. I don't think anybody ever asked him why. When I got here 6.5 years ago, it was to the point where it was basically, you're going to do something or you're going to lose the authority. Paul had a very hard board before him, basically a dictator. John, you can vouch for that. Even for me, we had something as easy as purchasing a dump truck. We had a 1982 two-wheel drive dump truck. The exact words were, borrow the townships. Paul, have you tried to buy a dump truck? You have. And you weren't allowed. Nope. How many breaks have you had in your career?
Quite a few.
More than 100.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Probably more than 300. 1960 lines. Rates were cheap. They never put them into the system. If you don't invest in the system, it's poorly maintained. There was a portion going up to outside in. The PSI was state PSI by DEP regulations has to be 20 PSI. We are below 5 for over 20 years, easily. You wanted to do something, weren't allowed. We talked about the Darlington tank. That's been in the works for, John, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, probably not.
Every time got shot down. Paul didn't have a choice. It's just like a car. When a nickels and dimes you and you get rid of it. He did not have the same board I had to move forward. If I was in his position, I'd have done the same thing. But now, moving forward, if you get elected, Paul, if you are running and you get elected, are you going to sell us?
Absolutely not.
Are you proud of where we've become and where we're going? You get all that, Joe? All right. Yes, Steph?
Don't leave yet.
No, I'm not leaving yet. I just wanted to.
All right, keep going. But I think it's very important also that we talk about what's transpired more recently and what we're up against with the 537.
You want to talk on the sewer side? We can. Okay.
Because now that we have some of the residents' attention for once,
Okay.
I'd like to start to talk through what the hurdles that we had, with the appeal that we had, the filing for the 537, how we were going to reduced discharges, that permitting,
Mhm.
the pressure move to Maywap within the borough, and what some of the consequences have been and where we're at.
Okay, yes, we can talk about the sewer.
As simple as possible so that people can digest this. This gets a little bit heavy.
As simple as possible. Okay. I believe any move we try to make is going to be impossible.
So let's back up and frame and explain the scope of the 537 plan and what is the current kind of, I'll say, component of that.
Okay, the 537 plan is for sewage projects, for new sewage projects.
And the last two parallel, I'm sorry, but the two parallel residents could react to would be the work to extend to Laughlin Town and our Darlington, or just our Darlington project.
That was the last project.
What was the last project that we did?
The last sewer project was, I don't know, it was before me. John, was it Darlington or what was it, Laughlin Town? It was a Laughlin Town extension.
Okay.
Okay.
So for everybody to understand that the last time we took action on the 537 plan to expand sewage services.
It was the Laughlin Town extension, which goes to the MWC borough.
I think it's a little, can I add?
Oh, yeah, please, that's what, again, this is.
Because I was there.
Correct.
With Paul and everything. Those other two projects, Laughlin Town and Darlington, got accomplished by having an amendment to the Act 537, which is the township governing body's plan that's approved by DEP for the entire township. So Darlington and Laughlin Town projects got approved by just sort of doing an amendment. Now, that was all through LTMA. At some point, a decision was made by the township to take the whole process back from LTMA and redo the entire Act 537. In other words, tell us how you're going to sewer the entire township. And at that point, things got a little mixed up. And so now we're facing, I'm cutting you off. Now we're facing two alternatives. One is the one that DEP wants us to do, which is the only way you're going to sewer anything in this township is by sending everything to the existing treatment plant owned by MAWC in the borough along Route 30 that everybody sees. And the rationalization is DEP, as stewards of the environment and so forth, do not want to create any more discharges, because ultimately once sewage is treated, it goes right back into the waterways. And there's also overflows that happen now and then. So they don't want to see new sewer treatment plants. They like regionalization. They like neighbors working together, because every small community, every community in the state wants their own system, wants their own government, wants their own control power, whatever. So they rejected our idea, our submission to put a treatment plant up in
Wilton.
Wilton. We had an idea, we thought it would be less expensive.
It was less expensive.
And so we had asked for that, DEP said no. We filed an appeal, but then as we looked at things, we kind of put that on hold, because if we were to win that appeal, which my advice was it was unlikely, but if we were to win, then MAWC could take some punitive action against us and adjust the rates down to, on the other customers that already go to the borough plant.
Well, to correct you on that one, what's in the contract is that they only want X amount of I&I through the system, a percentage. So if inflow and infiltration. So basically anything that gets into the pipe, storm, water, anything that's not sewage is inflow and infiltration.
What's the average amount of iodine? Because I've heard from you that it's pretty significant.
It is very significant.
And everybody has it.
Yeah.
The older the system, the more you have it, no matter what you do.
Ligonier Borough has it. Their own system has it.
Yes.
To cut to the chase, we've been held hostage by DEP. We want to build a new up-to-date sewage treatment plant outside of a floodplain. And let's take it one step further. Ligonier Beach, one of the gripes at Ligonier Beach, and we can't do that out there, is afraid of the chlorine coming into the Loanna. You have a sewage treatment plant down there that when it floods, and I have pictures of it, and it floods pretty often, the sewage goes into the Loanna. DEP won't let us build a up-to-date new plant because Westmoreland County Municipal Authority wants that sewage. If we go into that, we don't have control of the cost of that. I think just last month, they upped the cost of the sewage and the water.
Twice in 1 year.
We had no control, the people of the valley would have no control of that. At least here, if we can do that, and I think the only way that we win this is get the public involved with the water and the sewage with DEP. I've talked to Senator Pittman, I've talked to our state rep. They tell me that they can't do anything. They can't control DEP. I think the only way we can do it is the citizens got to get involved and really fight.
There was a conversation, he has since retired, but Tom Flanagan was on the planning for the 537, and we were arguing back and forth. You know, Engineer Foss and I were working on it pretty hard and heavy, and the location, I think we were around 3 miles away from MEWC plant. And he said, that's only like 4.5 more milgriff. He said, you're too close. Only 4.5 more that we'd have to pay. It's not really his concern. And I asked him, well, what's too far? 3 miles is too close. What's too far? Like, I can't tell you that. You can tell me 3 is too close, but you can't tell me 5 is too far. Everything we tried failed due to they want us to go there. And it's even the same way on the water side. 8 years ago, we have 2 PWSID numbers. Each water plant, by Pennsylvania standards, has its own identification number. And again, pre-me, I don't know how this worked, but LTMA bought Waterford off the Supervisors or off the Waterford.
It was given to Ligonier Township because Waterford got to the point where they couldn't afford it.
Okay, so normal systems, contact DEP and say, hey, we would like to transfer the permit, have one. 8 years ago, Jake tried that. He said, it's too much work. I came in a couple of years ago, we were having a meeting, and I asked the same gentleman, like, hey, I want to transfer the permit. Nope, it's too much work. It's so much paperwork, Griff. Okay. My buddy up at Highland, Jeremy Horhath, he just did it last week in 2 days. So they want us to fully go to MAWC no matter what. That's what we're up against on both water and sewers.
And I guess, and the other thing to highlight too is in these initial sketches and proposals with the different alternatives also included the reduction of overall discharge.
It did.
We did work with some of our neighbors and other entities in the area.
We were taking away discharge, we only have
have
one.
these permits.
Mm-hmm.
And as a part of this project, we would be able to consolidate that in with ours.
The department does not care about what you pay. They don't. And they flat out told us they don't care what the customers pay. That has no concern to them whatsoever.
And the watershed group was in favor of our idea of the new plant. They thought it would be more economic, environmentally sound, big picture than sending everything down to a 1950s plant or whatever that overflows near their offices.
Yeah, I have pictures of it. Anybody wants to see that. But a few years ago, before we did the Darlington plant, they said the same thing. We only want one discharge.
And they gave us
turned
that.
out economically, they let us put the one down in Darlington, and we've never had any, of course, it's well out of the floodplain. We haven't had any trouble with it. It really comes, like I said, I think DEP is holding us hostage. I think it comes down to political politics, money.
So Stephanie, go ahead, Dan.
Let's say going forward, we get sewage up through Oak Grove, up into Waterford, out into Wilton, and we have to send it to the borough plant. Can that borough plant, the way it stands today, even handle the extra flow? Because I've heard that they really need some significant upgrades to that facility.
So,
And who pays for those upgrades?
typically we would. And I'm not sure if they're saying that's built in, there's no cost to us. There's been talk, there is no cost to us, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been, we're so intertwined in a circle right now, we have no idea what's going on.
So there's nothing on paper.
No,
Okay.
no. But that's a negotiation tactic too, you know. Catching up to speed, Stephanie, where you asked from the beginning, following the I&I, which Dan was saying. So what they can do, and what was in the contract, which is any intermunicipal, whether it was my old employment, Somerset Township, Somerset Borough, Bedford, Chestnut Ridge, it doesn't matter where. When you have X amount of I&I, you can put a sewage meter on and bill off of the meter. So basically they're saying, if you're going to spend $10 million, fix your I&I. So that was another tactic for us to back off. So we're face fixing our I&I before we move forward. But if you want sewer, we could have had it yesterday going down there. But again, like John, like you're saying, I mean, at some point in time, if it's $50, we have to be 60. When they raise it to 60, we got to be 70. At some point in time.
And the municipal authority and the township supervisors have really been fighting it to try to have some control over it to keep the citizens' fees or rates. And there's been some raving about that I've seen in Facebook. At least to the reasonable that we have control over it. If you want to complain to the municipal authority, you can come down here. If you want to complain to supervisors, of course you can come down here. If you want to complain to Westmoreland County Municipal Authority, you go to Newstand, and their meetings, I do believe, is at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So.
I mean, the interesting thing too is we own the lines, we maintain the lines, we do all the work. And they cash a big fat check after we pay them for the privilege to send it to them.
It pays to own a sewer plant.
Yeah. Doesn't pay to own the line. So.
No, the end process is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Griff.
Yep.
Any questions?
Oh, any recommendation, Manager Stralick to sell the authority?
Oh, hey, thanks for asking me. So I stand on my record. I've kept the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority public, and I've kept the Pittsburgh Parking Authority public. So no, if I did that there, I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to sell.
Didn't want to forget you.
I wouldn't even answer the call.
Didn't want to forget you, buddy.
Thanks, Griff.
Thanks, Griff.
Thank you.
Staff reports, zoning code enforcement, Rick.
It's a pleasure to be before the board today. One thing, my report is in front of me. One thing I would like to mention, as Dan mentioned, we have finally been in contact with people up on Old Lincoln Highway. They are supposed to submit to us a plan to rectify those code enforcement issues on that property by the 3rd. And if not, we do have the summary trial scheduled for the 23rd. And I, of course, will take any questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
In Lockman's Tunnel, great wall out there that we keep talking about.
That property, the Kramer
They're
property.
doing work on that building. Is that building permit?
No, that building permit was not required for that, according to PKL, because they were not changing the use of that part, and they weren't enclosing the sides. They were just enclosed that towards the neighbors, so the neighbor didn't have to peer inside and look at their equipment, and that was that additional part
So
there.
they're closing the whole one side off.
Yes.
As long as they leave the ends open.
Yeah, and they don't try to change the inside of it from storage to like living space or inside space or anything like that.
But they're okay with the 4 units, the 4 residential units that are in there?
That is how it's been permitted.
And all the tap-ins, they pay their tap-ins for all of those, well,
Griffith's
so
not
yeah.
here, yeah. All that was done before me, but as far as I can tell, it has all been done in accordance.
Any other questions? Great, thank you. Mr. Griffith, other Mr. Griffith.
Well, as far as public works side goes, it's been going pretty good. All the trucks up and going. Small issues on a few of them. I'm gonna start cold patching. We're gonna get the sweeper out this week. Sweep our lot and then go to the parking lots for the fire halls. That's Ash Wednesday. It's gonna be coming soon. And the fish fries all up. And go back to tree trimming and start on our started on the list for the chip seal this year. Get the roads prepared, pipes replaced.
When do you think you'll start running that brush on the roads and get the anti-skid off the road?
That's a weather thing.
I know.
I'm gonna guess probably, I'm hoping beginning of March, like middle of March.
But the equipment to do it is running, not broken.
Well, we're renting a sweeper when we start doing
Oh,
it.
okay.
Right now, we're gonna keep our sweeper to do smaller stuff, parking lots, and help with the other sweeper that we're renting. Yeah. Middle of March, I'm hoping to be. I don't wanna get out there too soon and put it all back down on the road.
Speak up, put it back down again.
Right.
We do get those fluke snowstorms in mid-end of March. One question or comment that I had is hats off to the guys. We really had a rough winter. The snow and ice and cold weather and keeping stuff running, so hats off to you and your team. Basically came through. I know I made a comment earlier. I lived in my house now 8 years. Before you had started, it was maybe 1 or 2 o'clock before they were hitting side roads, and now I see them there at 9 a.m. in the morning hitting the side roads. So I know that
We're starting a lot earlier.
they're out. Yeah, you guys are out there.
Yeah, we've adjusted our schedule in both directions. Started later due to storms forecasted and started earlier. Storms forecasted, trying to keep the roads good for the public.
Good.
But thank you, yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, definitely let them know. And then, like you know, Michael, we may have a little more cleanup this year than we have had in the past. I noticed a couple pipes, cross pipes have heaved. One on Freeman there, and there was a couple others I saw when I was running around it. I know that we repaired a bunch of them here over the last, 2 years?
More than that, but yeah, a lot of freezing and thawing, and salting.
Yeah.
We had problems. The previous administration used the wrong aggregate, and we've had nothing but problems.
Right.
So, appreciate that. Anybody else have any questions for Lance?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. Now, may I introduce our new addition, Beverly Warfel, for the finance report.
What you have in your packet, if not a loss for January, we are looking pretty well going into January, so it's kind of hard to be out over anywhere. I am working, actually, right now, working on the report that Stephanie has requested with regard to presenting the budget. We are working on putting something together that satisfactory for her. There is only one area in the budget that's over, and that's due to the damage last November. We'll have to still talk about how we need to handle that because we did receive the insurance payment last year, but the expense came in this year part of it, and so we have some work to do there to see how to handle that.
Okay, you report that next month then? Okay. Anybody have any questions for Beverly? No? Thank you, appreciate that. Treasurer's report, Supervisor Burke.
So all that I have tonight would be the approval of the bill due list. In your packets, we have 2 bill due lists. One is from our general fund totaling $128,719.86. Second bill due list is out of Ligonier Beach Properties project for $2,706.59. Motion to approve those.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Unfinished business.
We have none.
New business.
Only 3 items of new business, we already took care of one of them. Dumpster days, the borough set their date. Typically, we set ours at the nearest Saturday to Earth Day, which this year would be April 26th. We've always done 8 a.m. till noon. I don't see any reason to change. It's pretty popular. Some people get there at 7:30, Jim.
I'm sorry, what was the date of the borough doing theirs?
April, they're doing it Friday and Saturday, so the 25th and the 26th. And I'll need your approval both to set the date and especially for the fee schedule. Same fee schedule as previous years, which is in your packet. We don't make nearly the money back, but it's a very popular event, so I recommend taking a loss and continuing to do it.
Can I get a motion to approve April 25th from 8 to noon for dumpster day? And the fee schedule is $5 per car, $10 per pickup truck, $50 per dump truck, $10 per appliance, $15 per appliance with Freon, $2 for regular size tire, $4 for regular size tire with a rim, $5 for large size tires, and $10 for a large size tire with rim.
You said April 26th?
25th.
26th, the borough is also doing it on the 25th. They're doing Friday and Saturday. Ours is- Looks like on the calendar.
26th is a Saturday.
Okay, you have it wrong on your sheet.
On the sheet.
Oh, yeah.
We'll change this to 26.
Thank you.
Your list texted you a little bit.
I'll make a motion to go ahead.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have Resolution 2025 R-01, document destruction. And Mike, I'll let you elaborate upon it.
Yes, much less exciting than previous years. There was one year I had like 30 boxes stacked there. I had 4. If anybody wants to go through them, feel free, because it's going to be going in the trash shortly. Just 4 boxes over there. Invoices, that's time's up. They can go. If anyone needed 8-year-old invoices for some reason or saved QuickBooks anyway. Box of Keith Whipke files, which is only half of what was in there because I scanned and saved anything that was of value. And then a box of FEMA floodplain maps that are 20 and 40 years out of date. If anybody wants old maps, take them before they hit the trash.
Can I get a motion to approve this resolution number 2025-R-1 for the disposal, destruction of documents that are obsolete and have been scanned or digitized?
Can I ask a clarifying question? Not, I get that the FEMA maps are outdated, but it would be kind of interesting to understand what's changed in them. Was there any way to copy, is there anything in there that would be worthwhile to retain electronically, just for like historical purposes?
I don't think so. I mean,
Any
take
of
a
those
look at it.
past FEMA maps you would be able to obtain from FEMA. They would have those master records. It's not like it was anything that we created specific here at the township.
Correct.
Okay.
And what we have is not the map that we go online at FEMA. It's like elevations, and I honestly, I don't know how to read them.
If you're a Boy Scout.
It's directions left and right, not up and down.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
John, second.
Second.
Stephanie, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to have a executive session?
No, we voted on the one, right?
Okay. Comments from the public, anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to speak. Chris Effner, Zion Church Road. First of all, I'd like to say I'm glad to hear we're not selling the Township Municipal Authority. I did not suggest we were selling the Township Municipal Authority. And I would assume I'm the person that's involved in political smears. And if I offended anybody, I sincerely apologize. But I had made the post, yes, I'm Ligonier and Polish, yes, I'm the owner of the group along with 3 other administrators, that it just blows my mind that we have so many people running for township supervisor who are 100% in agreement to back the blue. No disrespect to you, and I mean that sincerely, Eric. I respect your right as a private citizen to do whatever you want. That's not the issue.
I back the blue too.
Yeah, that's not what I'm addressing now, because someone had said I said there's more important things than just backing the blue, and I mentioned reasonable development in conjunction with reasonable expansion of our sanitary sewage system, and I said I hope we don't get backed into a corner where we're forced to sell to Maywak because of the DEP, okay? And just to bring historical perspective on this, posts were made or shared from 2017, 8 years ago. These were posts from 8 years ago when, in fact, the Ligonier Township Board of Supervisors, as we all know, were painted into a corner and were contemplating selling to Maywak, but at the time, the purchase price was a paltry $10 million for what Stephanie and I determined back then, the present value of the cash flows was over $50 million 8 years ago, and we just didn't want to give it away, but that's not an issue, and I support Griff. I'm glad he's enthusiastic and passionate about his job, and I'm glad everyone here says that that's not an issue. I can hope we work through the issues we're having so we can expand our tax base a little bit and get some sensible development. And once again, it's not my intent to politically smear anybody. But when we go back in time, and unfortunately, people think what's being written was written last week. It's from 8 years ago. And at the time, it was called Raising Public Awareness. I was not accused of political smears then. Of course, I wasn't a candidate for office at that time. But we all have competent people running for office, and I'm comfortable with everyone for whatever that's worth. The main reason I come to speak is we talk about beyond back the blue. The number one thing that the public wants from the Board of Supervisors is transparency and accountability. I mean, and I think we're making genuine progress from what I'm seeing. I really do. What I want to know is when you make a controversial decision such as to appoint Mr. Ross to the police commission, why is there not any explanation as to what the basis of that decision was made? For all I know, you had a terrific reason, but in lack of any, if nobody puts out any information, it's left as supposition. People think, oh, they have a secret agenda, or they have a personal agenda, or they're answering to another party, or they're incompetent. I don't think there's a supervisor on the board that's not above average intelligence. I just don't understand why we make a decision which creates an obvious conflict of interest. And Eric has to pay out of his own pocket to have his attorney write to the State Ethics Board to see what he can and cannot do. We had to go before Judge Smell to see what we can and cannot do. Whereas if we just had appointed Eric, he's just a supervisor. There's no exponentially larger conflict of interest. And then, I wish Scott was here. He's not. He was brought up as the first alternate. Am I correct? Is that correct? And he said no, correct?
He initially accepted the appointment and then he declined it, I
I
believe.
read the minutes and I couldn't make it, but.
It's been 3 minutes, so.
Okay, that's fine. You get the gist. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Boofer?
Yeah. Over the weekend, Dan and I were at a banquet for Wilton's Fire Hall, just to bring attention to that. They've been in existence for 75 years, had 230 some calls last year. They had about 4 people in there that have over 50 years of service and are still pulling the fire calls. And just to bring that to the people's attention. It's pretty amazing when you listen to it. People are going to those fire calls for 50 years. They're in their 70s right now. The other thing is, as far as information, and I think I've mentioned this a couple times before, you can get a hold of the supervisors, you can get a hold of me. I'm pretty accessible. If you have any questions that I can answer, I'm only one of 5 supervisors, but I do have a lot of history of what has gone on in the past. If you have any questions that I can answer, I mean, my office and telephone numbers up are on the road. So that's wide open. That's all I have to say.
Stephanie?
I just wanted to mention I'm pretty excited about the grant award for the pedestrian bridge. Agreed, there's definitely some funding, but that was the application that was submitted in partnership with the borough and the school district. It was something that, we've taken a couple swings at it, so I'm pretty excited. I understand there's a big deficit, but to bring that type of infrastructure into our area, I think is just amazing. So I would encourage us to continue to look forward on this project to what are the solutions, how can we make this happen, how can we work together with our neighbors. I think this is a real big positive for this area, and it does speak a lot for that grant to be awarded. And then the other component I did want to mention too, we're talking about taxes and asking for tax exempt status and the desire to expand sewage so that we can start to bring in, at the end of the day, it's more development, it's more housing, which expands our tax base. Keep in mind though, for every dollar of real estate taxes that's collected, I think it's like a nickel of it comes to the township. So when you really think about new homes and that development, do you know what I mean? Like, it's an uphill battle. We've seen how inflation has hit us, how costs have gone up. So, this is going to be a tricky year. This is our first year now that we're kind of getting past some of that ARPA funding. This is the year that we really need to kind of tighten our belts and figure some things out. I don't want us to lose sight of the fact we all go to the grocery stores, costs are going up. We are all very sensitive that we don't just want to pile on to that, but I do think that is a concern, and I think we need to start to have some real serious conversations about how we're going to solve that problem moving forward, and a little bit less time on, I think, some of the things that have been the focus where we're kind of going in circles and we're not advancing things for the community. So just wanted to kind of mention that to people and get them thinking, you know what I mean? Well, I want to, we certainly aren't, I'm not in favor of giving anyone exemptions for it. Our piece of the pie is so very small. So, and I think the other thing to keep in mind is our quality of services here are impeccable. So when you think about, it's not just about the dollar I pay, it's what I receive in advance. And I think we're very fortunate. And I just want to kind of mention and acknowledge that and remind people. That was all. Thank you.
Thanks. Dan?
I'd like to, if you thought back a few years before we had Mr. Strelick, Mr. Griffith, Mr. Krause, we were a mess. And this township governance, our administrators, I believe are doing a great job. We have virtually no problems with the road crew. And I think they were an unhappy bunch a few years ago. And that's all been resolved. So really, I think this township is in the best shape it's been in a very long time. And I'm proud to be part of the process. And we know we're not, our work's not done yet. I'd love to see sewage out into Waterford, Wilton. If you go into the stream behind the football field in August and September when it's real low, don't go wet wade in that creek if you got a scratch on your leg, because you're probably going to get an infection. The E. coli is just off the charts, and that's what we're trying to clean up. We're a pristine area, but we need a little bit of work. The reason I'm ended up here was originally I wanted on the water authority because I got tired of my water being off because of the line breaks. And I remember writing a letter to Paul, and Paul said, come on down, and it was like 2-3 breaks a month from a 50-some-year-old, 60-year-old, hell, older than that probably, that transite line down through there. And then I found out that, well, if you're on the water authority, that's nice, but the township supervisors control the water authority. So if I'm going to have an impact on the quality of the water and the quality of service, and we've made great strides in the water authority, and well, we have more work to go, and I think we're heading in the right direction. So, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Address Chris. You basically said about transparency. And, you know, the transparency is here. I mean, we're getting reports now from the police board, which was in the contract. We never did before 2 years ago. It was a black hole. Nothing came out of that. We knew nothing going on. They were buying things, and we look here and say, okay, you know. As for transparency, there was a letter written from Mr. Hudock, sent to the police board urging them not to do that because it broke the law. So there is transparency. Read through the meeting minutes, and they're very transparent.
Well, I've been reading back to 2021. I'm not even the 30th way through.
Well, I started in 2022.
Yeah.
So more before my time.
Yeah.
And then as for me being on the police board, I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. So, and put it in context, if you fought a parking ticket with the police, you can't be on the police board. You had a run-in with them. Can't do that.
I'm not suggesting you're guilty of anything.
So,
I'm saying
so
it's
basically,
silly for you to be on the police commission and have to recuse yourself for nearly potentially 1/3 of the votes you may have to take. That's all.
we don't know that yet. And we'll find that out. But there's multiple, Mr. Source has a input on that. Mr. Hudock has an input on that. Mr. Arbor, my attorney, has a different input on that. So until that's put out officially, which my understanding is, Officer Nepper sent in a
Maybe I
request.
made an application to the Pennsylvania Ethics Commission.
And I sent in my request as well. So they'll get to see two sides, transparency, two sides
I don't
of,
think transparency is this. I think it's a real thing.
No.
Thank you.
but quote unquote,
Yeah.
what you're calling transparency, we have two different approaches to the ethics board. I don't know how much more you can be.
Is there a deadline for them to respond?
I don't know that. I know, well, to put it this way, Officer Nepper filed it right after the January meeting, and we have not received anything that I know of. And mine was filed about a week before the February meeting. But to answer your questions, Chris, when as Dan alluded to, when I came on the board here, you know, hostile work environments, this, that. Rick, how do you like working here?
I love it.
Lance, how do you like working here?
I love it also.
Michael?
Well, I love it, sir.
You can say you hate it, I don't care. Not really? Good.
I'm a little worried we're patting everybody on the back.
No,
Maybe after somebody left.
I think that there's a lot of gaslighting going on in the community. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of non-facts being, you know, passed around on Facebook.
The only fact I'm pointing out is nobody commented on why they voted the way they voted. That's the only thing that concerns me.
Reach out to a supervisor and then ask them.
No, say the public meeting, get it on the record. I'm not going back.
If you want to know why I voted, my belief is, if you're the victim, I believe that Mr. Ross was the victim. He had to go to court to get exonerated. And you don't lose your constitutional rights when you're a victim and you've been exonerated.
Equal protection under the law. I agree 100%. You're missing the entire point. The entire point is that he's already been ruled he has a conflict of interest. And if we would have
Wait. Who ruled? No,
we would have been according to all of you, then we have conflict of interest.
Who ruled? I asked you,
Chris,
who ruled?
Chris, there has not been a ruling of conflict of interest.
That's what I'm saying, you said
You
it's been a
keep
rule.
saying this gaslighting stuff. Keep putting it out there.
It's common sense.
No, it's
Oh,
not common
yeah.
sense.
Gaslighting.
It's not common sense.
Where
Common
was-
sense said, like I said, have you ever put in gone to court and fought a ticket? I'm going to court and fighting a thing. That's all that it is.
We wish that the wheels would work a little faster so that we would get this ruling, but the Pennsylvania Ethics Commission is the only one that can resolve this. And we have to wait.
And we'll see what the ruling is. With that, that's all I have for comment. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motions.
And a second?
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh, okay, that's good then. I don't have to answer.
Sorry. Almost tripped.
Sorry.